These are Atlas's newest set of full-frame anamorphic lenses, the Mercuries, and they can produce some pretty fantastic looking images. And what makes them so compelling for filmmakers is their blend of image quality, 1.5 times squeeze factor, full frame coverage, and incredibly compact and light cinema lens housings, all at an excellent price point. In this video, we'll be exploring the lens's performance, but before we get into the technical testing and specs of the lenses, let's take a look at some imagery that we've managed to capture with them. We were lucky enough to test the Mercuries across a few different shoots, but our primary real-world shoot with the Mercuries was at a great little location, NQ64 in Soho, for us to create a little atmospheric visual showcase of the lenses. We shot this with the Sony Venice 2 along with the Rialto 2 system, both of which we'll be doing a full video on very soon. The overall look of the lenses is brilliant. I actually prefer the image they produce over Atlas's Orion 2x lenses. The Mercury's flares are much nicer, and I also prefer the shape of the bokeh. The anamorphic look obviously isn't quite as strong as a 2x lens, but they do offer a nice balance of that large format look alongside the anamorphic look. For our testing today, we have the first three lenses in the set, a 36, 42 and 72mm, all of which are around t2.2. But there will be more focal lengths coming soon. As we said, the Mercuries are 1.5 times anamorphic lenses, and this means that depending on the sensor format of your chosen camera or setting, it will change the aspect ratio you end up with. So some common ones will be 16:9, which will result in a 2.6:1 aspect ratio, 3:2, which will result in 2.25:1, and 4:3, which will result in 2:1. This means that you can easily put these onto a range of cameras, whether that's a small mirrorless body, medium-sized run and gun camera, or a full cinema package. The lenses will just easily slide into any of these workflows thanks to their fantastic physical design and coverage. They all use PL mount, have standardized gear placements and rotations, consistent 95mm front diameters, and similar weights. When I first got my hands on these lenses, the thing that impressed me the most was just how small they were, especially the wider focal lengths. I could easily see these mounted onto a smaller mirrorless camera using an adapter, all the way up to larger cinema configurations. Given their image circle and speed, I was really surprised, and when on camera, they can balance really nicely, unlike some other anamorphics on the market which are usually much bigger and heavier. They'll be available with both metric or imperial markings, and the scales we had on our set were incredibly good. But thankfully they are easily shimmable if you do need to do that at all. Close focus is always something to consider when looking at anamorphic lenses, and the Mercuries have pretty average but good close focuses comparatively to other full frame anamorphics. If you want to improve the close focus, you can easily just grab a set of diopters, and this is a pretty common thing to do and see people using with anamorphics because of their poor close focuses normally. Each lens in the set has been designed to cover full frame and has a 1.5 times squeeze factor, which means they will pair with plenty of large format cameras currently on the market. If you want to check out exactly how each lens performs across pretty much every cinema camera on the market, you can head over to our lens tool, which uses real-world captures to show you the coverage you should expect from these lenses, as well as the hundreds of others we also have on the tool. Link to that is in the description below. When using the lenses on our Red V-Raptor XL, you can see a clear drop-off in illumination towards the corners of the frame wide open, which gets better as you stop down. However, there is no hard vignette across the set, just illumination fall off, which gets better, like I said, as you stop down. We shot our bokeh test on a Red V-Raptor using the Kibitai Strata mount in full 8K 17:9, which does require an image circle slightly larger than the one rated on the Mercury lenses. The 3 lenses we have with us are actually incredibly consistent. None of them show any texture in our out of focus highlights, they are nice and smooth, and the shape is excellent. If we look at the 36mm, in the centre of frame as we stop down to 5.6, shape is held very well, with that trademark oval shape, without much cutting. If we zoom in, you can see a touch of CA and a very defined edge, which is consistent throughout the frame and the t-stop range. As we pan to see how it behaves towards the corners, you can see clear distortion and cutting of our out of focus highlights. This happens consistently as we stop down as well. The 42mm looks very similar to the 36mm. Wide open shape is good, but maybe a touch more bottom heavy than the 36mm. It also has a defined edge and a touch of CA. It also distorts as we pan the highlights towards the corners of the frame. The 72mm has some CA wide open and a defined edge to it as well, which is consistent as you stop down to T5.6. Shape is excellent all the way down to 5.6, and it's a nice oval shape in the centre of frame, but it does distort as you go towards the corners of frame. Overall, I think out of focus areas look really nice with the Mercuries. They've got a good amount of character to them, and the overcorrected bokeh gives the backgrounds a decent amount of texture to them. Atlas have taken a slightly different approach with the Mercuries when it comes to the look of the flare than their previous Orion series. They aren't meant to be as blue and saturated as the original Atlas series, but much warmer, which personally, I do prefer a lot more. They are still quite intense, but I really like the look of them compared to other anamorphic lenses at their price point. Looking at how the lenses resolve, wide open center performance across the 3 lenses is actually really good. You'll get some minor aberrations though, but comparatively to other anamorphics I've seen, they are actually really good wide open. On each lens wide open, you can see a clear drop off in performance towards the corners, but that's to be expected, and honestly something that some people will prefer. The 36 and 42mm both really bite up in the corners at T5.6, whereas the 72mm isn't quite as wacky in the corners wide open as the other 2, but you can see clear CA even when stopped down to 5.6. Overall, the lenses perform really well for anamorphic lenses. If you want that roll off towards the corners, you can easily just shoot close to wide open, and then if you want more consistent performance corner to corner, just stop down. Distortion is another element of an anamorphic lens that people have different subjective tastes about. All 3 focal lengths of the Mercuries have barrel distortion, which personally I prefer the look of over pin cushion. The 36mm looks to have the most out of the 3, but they all have that nice anamorphic feel to them. Focus breathing when it comes to anamorphics is definitely more desired than not, as the disproportional nature of it thanks to the 2 different powers of the lens gives it a unique feel that some find nostalgic and cinematic. Each focal length has slightly different amounts of breathing, but they're all quite strong, the 36mm looking like it has the most out of the 3. The Mercuries offer a unique blend of solid mechanics, compact and lightweight design, and great image quality, all at an excellent price point. The Laowa Proteus and Vasm full frame 1.8x are at a similar price, but of course the Proteus is Super 35. Compared to the Vasms, I personally prefer the look and mechanics of the Mercuries, but of course this is subjective. We'll be creating a video around the Proteus very soon, so make sure to subscribe if you want to catch that video when it goes live. With full frame cameras becoming more and more popular in the cinema market, I can see these being incredibly popular for filmmakers and DPs who want a nice balance of that large format look alongside the anamorphic look. We have them in our demo stock currently, so if you want to get your hands on them, head over to the links below and register your interest. We also have pre-orders up, so if you're thinking about getting a lens or a set, I would suggest doing so as these are going to be incredibly popular. And our pre-order deposit is fully refundable, so you have nothing to worry about. If you have any more questions or thoughts about the Atlas Mercury lenses, let us know in the comments below. And if you like the video, please give it a like and maybe consider subscribing so you don't miss out on our awesome upcoming content. And thank you so much for watching.